And Dave, it's that time of year again where we start to figure out who's going to be on the cover. And I'm saying we, but really I'm going to say you. I mean, you're really the guru here. You usually get a pretty high percentage of them correct.
Have the
So
exact stats right here for you, my friend.
hell yeah.
Check the tape. No YouTube channel does better at predicting XXL than Nowstalgia. 2017, 7 out of 10 right. 2018, 8 out of 9 right. 2019, 6 out of 11. 2020, 6 out of 12, and we only picked 10. 2021, 6 out of 11. Who's got better stats than that at picking XXL freshmen?
Show us
Nobody.
the receipts. So
Subscribe.
Dave, you know, in looking through the list of the short list on xxl.com where you can vote for the 10th
Yeah.
freshman,
Voting
gotta
has since
say
ended, but the list is still available.
there were less names here that I recognized than usual. And I usually kind of put the onus on you to kind of keep me present with my up and coming rapper listening. And so I gotta say, I blame you for me not knowing more of these people, but I also give you credit because the fact I knew any of them, I think, is a success to you as well. So, where should we start with this? Who do you think are the locks for this year?
Right. Yeah, we'll start with the locks, but I think in general, this is the first year in a while where I felt there are very few locks this year, or at least less locks than normal.
Hmm.
And in general, I think this is a harder year to predict. And that really just kind of depends on the talent bubbling up. And not that there's tons of hip hop talent. Again, the list on the website's like what, 50, 60 people.
Yep.
Like there's tons of people to just select. I think less people have like truly like risen up as high as we've expected freshmen to go uh, in recent years. Nowadays, though, there's still a lot of, I think, common through lines you can bank on. Almost all of these artists are already signed. A lot of these artists have success already. A big part of that now is big TikTok virality, but you'll see people with big numbers on in this consideration. So we're definitely in a different era where XXL is not. It's still a great cosign and great you know public promotion for an artist, but it's not as important as it once was, before social media, before TikTok especially. That being said, I think there's a lot of artists that would make a lot of sense for this recognition. In terms of locks, I only have a few, and we can start with Nardo Wick. I think he is perhaps the safest pick here. 20 years old, Florida rapper from Jacksonville, signed to RCA Records. Everyone watching and listening probably will know the song "Who Wants Smoke." The clip from that was a big TikTok sound. The what the fuck is that thing? Very very memorable on TikTok. But the song in general, super successful. Peaked to like number 17. Remix with Dirk and 21 and Herbo. Platinum song. Nardo dropped his debut back in December. I think he's kind of the perfect selection here. He's young, really new in his career, has that blockbuster song already, and this is kind of the acknowledgement that there's more to come here. He should be a freshman. 5.6 million monthly listeners. So not that he's not a unknown or anything, obviously. But I think he's an important pick too because he reps specifically Jacksonville, Florida. We talk a lot about Florida hip hop with young people, specifically the SoundCloud wave of the past 5 years. Big genesis in Florida, of course, starting with like Denzel Curry, obviously. Jacksonville, though, is kind of this newer subculture in hip hop, in Florida hip hop. Seeing a lot of these guys with very grim, kind of trap subject matter, like Young and Ace and Spinna Benz and stuff. And I think Nardo Wick is the one who's kind of risen up above them. Spot him got him, another one there. I think he's clearly the best choice, but you'd be representing a hot scene in hip hop right now. So it makes all the sense to go with him.
Yeah, and just with the people who have been on these songs with him, 21, G Herbo, Future, Little Baby. I mean, maybe not people that we love as rappers, other than probably 21, but still a great cosign that people of that level are hopping
Mm.
on these tracks with him. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, Who Wants Smoke? I think everybody who's been on TikTok probably knows this song. So
Mhm.
uh, definitely a good pick. Who's the other locks for you?
Yeah, so I think Dochi is a lock for me, but she's not super well known, so you never know. I think the reason Dochi is a good lock is because she signed the TDE. She signed the Top Dog Entertainment. She's their newest signee. Also signed the Capitol Records. Schoolboy Q was tweeting about her recently. Doja Cat on the Grammy red carpet talked about wanting to work with Dochi. And look no further, she also has a TikTok hit, Yucky Blucky Fruitcake. Awesome song.
Yeah.
Has a few EPs out. She was featured on the Isaiah Rashad album last year, of course, or before she was actually on the label, I believe. And has released a few songs this year. Now as TDE songs. 1.6 million monthly listeners. Still plenty of room to grow, but I think like that TDE cosign, it's like a really big acknowledgement. They don't sign just anyone, of course. And if you think about it, like all the recent TDE rappers are the best ones, they've all been freshmen too back in the day. All the Black Hippie guys, as well as Isaiah Rashad, they were all XXL 1 point. So you assume that the label's still interested in this. So I would think Dochi would be a nice pick. And if you listen to her, she's got a lot of versatility too, a bit of Doja Cat in her. She can definitely do some singing stuff. It's not like she's just a rapping ass rapper. She can do both. So I think very interesting career to watch.
Yeah, Dochi, I think, yeah, out of the ones that you sent me beforehand, really popped off as like it really caught my ear. And you mentioned that like flexibility. A song like "Yucky Blucky Fruitcake" is so different than like what you said, and then "Spooky Coochie," great name for a song, but like she just goes so hard, and it's such a different flow and delivery on it. It's just really impressive for versatility. I think she makes a lot of sense as a lock for this as well.
Right.
Who else you
Totally.
got?
So not a lock, but on XXL's list, you do see H, the UK rapper from Manchester, 22 years old. XXL has never selected a British rapper for the list. They put people on the shortlist before, though. Slow Tie was listed last year, but not selected. He should have been, in my opinion. Uh, this year, I think there's plenty of other picks you could go with. RD, Central C. They're not on the short list. I think Central C would be an awesome selection, of course. H is there, though. And I think he would be an awesome pick just because he is so hot in England and he has so much appeal that I feel like he should be able to blow up in the US as well. It would make a lot of sense. I mean, my favorite song of his is his biggest song, Rain, with AJ Tracy. Just goes so hard. But he just put out a single recently called Baby with Ashanti, gearing up for his debut album.
Chauncey.
He has a few mixtapes coming out. Lots of big cosigns over in the UK. He was on the Heady One album. He was on the Stormzy album. He was on the RD mixtape. Already 6.1 million monthly listeners. He's finding an audience, even if most of it's probably over across the pond still. So I think it would be a really nice acknowledgement that UK hip hop is a big aspect of rap
Hip
these
hop in
days.
general, yeah.
As big as it's ever been, honestly. So he would be an awesome pick. But I wouldn't call it a lock given the history of the list.
Yeah, we just I think you mentioned this. We just talked about him on the RD album, War Certified Banger. A couple of these other tracks you mentioned are also certified bangers. I didn't see that he did a song with Ashanti recently.
Mm-hmm.
What a look. Good for him. Uh, Dave, so one of the other names you put on here that just caught my eye and in listening, I thought was really good, and probably because we were just talking about Harry Potter, is Babytron. The the song Half Blood Prince with that Harry Potter, like keys in the beginning. I was like, ooh, here we
Yep.
go. This is pretty interesting.
Yep. I think Babytron would be a really awesome pick, but also I think a really smart pick. You look at Babytron on Spotify. He's put out 7 mixtapes since 2017. He's an independent artist. He only has like 350,000 monthly listeners. Small per those standards, but he doesn't have any label support. However, super prolific. Does a lot of funny things, like you said, sampling the Harry Potter theme, for example. Babytron, though, 21-year-old, he's representing 2, I think, important scenes here. One, the Michigan, Detroit slash Flint scene, which is its own distinct sound. It's been very hot, as well as scam rap. Lyrically, he's all about scam rap. He sounds a lot like his fellow, Detroit scammer TJX6. I've talked about like scam being on the XXL list before. They didn't pick TJX6. They didn't pick Guapdad 4000. Now it seems like it's Babytron's turn to be picked, and he's got so much material out there, and he's finding success with some of these songs despite no label support. I think would be an awesome pick. because you're representing two scenes and you're also giving a nice look to someone that could certainly be a bigger artist than he is right now, despite being, popping online. So I wouldn't call it a lock, but I think it would be a nice pick.
Yeah, and you mentioned that scam rap content. He is just like funny. Like listening to some
Yeah.
of these lyrics, it just really
Yeah.
makes you crack up listening. So
Super punchline driven, super reference heavy, which is unlike some of his peers on this potential list. So I think it serves a lot of needs to pick him.
kind of like early like Childish Gambino almost in a sense. Not as like melodic, but like
Mhm.
kind of in that same vein. All right, so who else you got on your list here? Who else can make it?
So this is someone who is not a lock, but probably would be if it was up to XXL, and that would be Yeat. Yeat is
Ooh.
22 years old from Los Angeles area, SoCal. Does melodic trap in like the vein of like an Uzi Vert, and he is really hot online, really popping online. 2 albums, 4 tapes, signed to Geffen Records. Sorry about that, big hit. He's got a bunch of like big internet hits in terms of this like melodic croony trap, and he's got a huge like rabid fan base. He's like really rapidly going. The thing though is I don't think he's gonna accept the list because he previously like talked about turning down an invitation to perform at Rolling Loud. It just kind of
Mm.
feels like him and his team aren't into like the more traditional like industry stuff, even though he's signed to a label. I have a feeling he would turn this list down, but given like how quickly he's risen the past few years and 7.1 million monthly listeners, I feel like he would be a big pick, but it just doesn't seem like he wants to go down this route. But definitely worth acknowledging because he would be, definitely up for it this year.
Uh, Interesting. I like that him and his team are going non-traditional with it. I think that is something that, especially with all the issues Rolling Loud has had, makes a lot of sense and probably a good left turn there. All right, so who's up next?
Yeah. So after that, I only have a few other locks here. I think one of them would be Coach Ice, just because Coach Ice is like getting pretty mainstream here. He has 6.2 million monthly listeners. His song "Tell 'Em" went platinum, peaked 64, signed to Columbia Records. I actually saw him open up for Amine on his best tour ever stop when I saw Amine. Coach Ice serves a other need as well, where he is like the auto tune trap. He is in the vein of current Playboy Cardi. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, I
So
heard
that,
that. Yeah,
yeah, not that it's my favorite thing, but it's a popular sound right now. So I think you are definitely like serving a need, checking a box by picking him. He's like the best pick of this kind of thing right now. Kind of similarly, like that kind of like thought process would be Sofago.
okay.
Sofago is signed to Cactus Jack Records, aka he signed to Travis Scott. His song "Knock Knock" 170 million views, streamed in Spotify, 2.6 million monthly listeners. He's got 3 tapes out. Same kind of thing, like these like kind of like moody, auto tuney, croony trap stuff. Like there's so much appetite for that kind of hip hop right now that I feel like you really have to acknowledge it on the list. And so Fago, he has the Travis co-sign. Then again, XSL passed over Sheck West due to his legal issues at the time. Don Tolliver turned it down last time, so who knows? Maybe he's not interested in the list because his label contemporaries haven't done it either. Not sure, but I think he would be a nice pick. I also think I saw on the list Fredo Bang was there. He's one of the older artists on the long list there. Just kind of a traditional Southern trapper. He has a lot of music out. He signed the Def Jam. I think he's a solid selection. But that's the thing. Like I'm out of locks here, and we haven't really hit 10. But there's a lot of people I could see making it. I think it's just going to be hard to actually really like nail this down at this point. So from there, I would just acknowledge that they're probably going to pick someone from New York. Last year was Fabio Foreign, repping BK Drill. Pop Smoke was going to be on it the year before if he hadn't passed. This year, not really sure who they're going to pick. On the list on the website was Dusty Locane, who I actually talked about on last year's list video. And Dusty Locane is like a Pop Smoke ripoff in the sense that he is like the same exact voice and is kind of like biting how Pop Smoke's delivery and stuff like that. Not my favorite pick. I thought the other option though are some guys from the Bronx repping like New York drill. who they're rising, but I don't know if they're there yet. That would be B-Love and K-Flock. K-Flock just got the Cardi feature, Cardi doing a drill feature. Just came out last week. I'm not sure if one of those guys would be picked, but honestly, I feel like B-Love, who has like the A Boogie cosign as a fellow Bronxite, I feel like he's a more interesting pick than Dusty Locane, who's just like ripping off Pop Smoke, honestly. So definitely something to watch because they're on all likelihood going to pick someone from New York. Also, I don't think they're going to pick him, but he was on the website. Tizo Touchdown. He was featured on Tyler the Creator's album last year, Call Me If You Get Lost. Very much a genre blendy hip hop person in the vein of like Kenny Mason. If you check out his music, not super mainstream, would be a really inspired pick. Don't think they're going to go there though, but I would definitely like to see them do it. Also, I saw it listed on the website Smiley, who no one is like super like into that much, I don't think, but he signed to OVO Sound, Drake co-sign. That might be all it takes. You never know.
So why don't we just like recap here the ones that seem like locks for you? So I heard Nardo Wick and Dochi seem like the top two,
Yeah.
no doubters. Then H
Yep.
is probably up there. Babytron,
Yep.
Coach Ice,
Yep.
and Sofago. Yeat, but may not accept the
Yep.
pick. And then you mentioned Tizo Touchdown, Frito Bang, Dusty
Yep.
Locane, and Cash Dami. Is that
Yep.
right?
Yeah. So
Is
yeah,
that your pick?
Cash Dami is another one where like not super big, 1.3 million monthly listeners, but his song Reparations is really big. That's kind of the themes. Like there's a lot of people that you can make a case for where like they have a bit of success and they'll probably really appreciate the look of the XXL list because they still have a platform to build. But yeah, I think this is going to be one where the last few picks are probably going to surprise people. And of course, people turning it down factors into that as well. But you know, if you look on the website, you'll see people that I talked about last year, like 2K Baby and Little Easy. I feel like they're kind of in holdover status at this point, though. You're just going to pick someone newer. But yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of love for Ken Carson online. Like there's a lot of people. So I'm actually just very interested to see what this cover looks like whenever it comes out, assumingly in June, just because it's a hard one to pick this year.
Well, if you're betting, Dave just gave you a bunch of picks to win a lot of money. So take his advice. The man is good at what he does.